here in London.
Ding dong.
I was thinking about this last night in bed.
Smashed it.
Proof for success.
As a soon-to-be fur daddy. Another one in the bag.
I'm vetoing that.
In this week's episode, we're going to travel to the windy city of Chicago in the US of A to talk about Goose Island IPA. But first, the hot topic.
So, Joe, I hear you have a hop topic for us today.
Yeah, so I'm not specifically talking about beer, but it's very much involved with the beer industry.
So, on our beer-related podcast, you're not talking about beer.
Yes, but you will hear the words of brewery and beer said a lot in this next segment.
Well, you've sold me, and I cannot wait to hear this non-beer-related topic that involves breweries. Bring it.
There you go. So we're talking about Heineken. There you go. Straight in. So we're talking about Heineken. So Heineken US and Hornell Brewing Company, who is associated with Arizona Beverages. Now, you might know Arizona Beverages from Arizona Iced Tea. If you've not been in the US, you may not know how important or how synonymous Arizona Iced Tea in the soft drink industry is. They basically have these huge tall boy cans, so they're quite literally giant. And as they say, they're kind of like fruit flavored or kind of like flavored iced teas. And they're one of the most popular beverages in the US.
Okay.
So they are collaborating together to create a hard seltzer version of the Arizona iced tea, and it's going to be called the Arizona Sunrise Hard Seltzer.
So a hard seltzer being...
Right. So a hard seltzer is taking the global consumer drinks industry by storm. So it's a slightly carbonated, flavoured drink.
Is it like drinking lime cordial?
Yeah, I suppose it's like drinking like a really diluted tonic water, which doesn't sound very appetizing at all.
You're not selling it.
Joe, Joe, do not be part of the advertising campaign.
But it's got all these amazing flavors. So let's put it in the perspective. This Arizona hard seltzer is going to come with a mucho mango.
Oh, I hate mucho.
A cherry punch.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
A lemon and a grapefruit flavor. A grapefruit flavor.
A what flavour?
What's that, Joe?
A grapefruit flavour.
If you could see Joe trying to pronounce that word, you would understand why it's so funny.
There you go. So the reason why I bring this up is because hard seltzers has exploded in the US, eroding a lot of the beer industry's profits and kind of like the share that then the kind of dominance they had in these drinking occasions. But it's not just beer that hard seltzer is kind of disrupting right now. It's also wine. It's also spirits, as in liquor.
Okay.
So yeah, it's an alcoholic drink. So it's about 5%. Most of them about 5%. The big ones in the US are White Claw and Truly.
White Claw.
White Claw. You can get White Claw now in the UK, and it's really good.
It sounds like a Brett Lee movie.
Yeah, it could be. So those two brands alone, White Claw and Truly, own 75% of the market share for hard seltzers in the US. Wow. And right now, it's projected to be worth $6 billion in like a couple of years' time. It is massive. So why this is projected and analysts are going crazy about it and every single big brewer are coming out with their hard seltzer is because it hits a drinking occasion across categories. So, if you go to, it's a light drink. It's low calories. That's the really important part. It's very low calories, like the non-alcoholic version of seltzers, which is just flavored carbonated drink. Yeah. It has no calories, literally no calories.
Wow.
I don't know what it's made up of. It's just if you look on the ingredients list, it's just zero the whole way down. Yeah, basically. So you don't feel guilty at all by chugging these non-alcoholic versions of the seltzer back. But then when it comes to wanting something that's alcoholic, you're sat at either mostly kind of in summertime, out in the park, you're out at a sports event, picking up a hard seltzer. It's really light. It's really refreshing. It's got that kind of little bit of alcohol in there, but it's nothing that's too crazy that, you'd be on the floor in a second. So it's kind of quickly becoming a popular favourite for a lot of consumers.
I was gonna say. So the only time I've heard of White Claw was it outsold beer at Coachella. I believe it was last year, which is mad because you think any festival I've ever been to, we're just swigging beer all day and there's no any alternatives other than cider and beer sort of thing. And that's what everyone's going for. But for it to outsell at a music festival is, I suppose it's showing a change in the times sort of thing. People are feeling more health conscious. They're looking towards an alternative to beer, something that is just as drinkable, but without the added calories and the faff sort of thing. It sounds fantastic.
I mean, it kind of makes me think that, I mean, everyone's worried about, everyone's always worried about getting that beer belly. Everyone's always worried about what alcohol does and how hard it is to get rid of if you're trying to be fit and healthy. And those people who are kind of, into their fitness and things, sounds like the optimal drink. This sounds like something that you can get really stuck into, which means you can have a good time without feeling that guilt. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really interesting, or kind of another kind of example of why this hard seltzer trend of movement, I suppose, is going to continue gaining traction, is that it's a disruptor in the beer category and a lot of other drinks categories, but specifically on beer we're focused on here. But it has made one of the biggest players in beer do something about it. So, and we're not talking about them all the other beer companies creating their own hard seltzers. It made Bud Light put a calorie count on its beer cans to show that Bud Light was only 41 calories, because the hard seltzers had grown in such popularity by this kind of low calorie, offering, that it made the one of the biggest players in this beer space to go, we need to start telling people that we actually don't have very many calories in us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So other companies that you might have heard of that are getting in on the act when it comes to hard seltzers, Constellation Brands, AB InBev, Heineken, as we just said with Arizona Iced Tea.
Yeah.
You've got the Boston Beer Company with Truly, and Mark Anthony's brands with White Claw. Coca-Cola are getting involved. This is their first foray into alcoholic drinks with this Topo Chico hard seltzer. So Coca-Cola has always had a we don't do alcohol policy, and then this is the one that's getting them into doing alcohol.
Wow.
So I think this is kind of showing just the level of kind of how this kind of hard seltzer movement is going to be a staple. I mean, it's already growing very quickly here in the UK. I know Molson Coors are rapidly, really quite far behind the times, but they're really quickly trying to get a hard seltzer option out in the UK market. But yeah, I mean, you can already get, like, as I said, those White Claws here in the likes of Sainsbury's. So yeah, so watch this space, everyone.
And now for some Pursuit of Hoppiness.
So, guys, this week we're going to talk about Goose Island, and we're going to talk about their IPA, the classic, as I would call it. It's the one that got me into Goose Island. Now, I'm a big fan of Goose Island Brewery Company. I think they've done some really fantastic bits for the brewing industry in the US. They actually started out in 1988, so they've been around, like, really at the cusp of it. We're talking about Shipyard not that long ago, so around that kind of the merging of, like, kind of the very beginnings of the craft beer industry. But what I always find quite interesting, why it's called Goose Island. So Goose Island is quite literally an island off Chicago, very close to Chicago, and that's what draws inspiration from its name. And as you can imagine, it has a lot of geese on it.
I'm not the biggest fan of geese. I got attacked by them when I was a young child. And then my grandma beat them off with a handbag. Like, there's just something about them, just not for me.
Well, interesting fact for geese is they are technically classed as vermin, so you're technically allowed to shoot them in the UK because they've overproduced themselves.
Actually, I'm not sure how to respond to that. I really don't know how to...
You don't need to. It's a fact. It's a fact. So, and it's your choice to decide if it's interesting or not.
But to our listeners, we cannot condone attacking geese. Please do not go and attack geese in the street.
Unless you're protecting Drabwell with a handbag.
Yes, unless you're Richard's grandma with a handbag, then you're allowed to.
Back to the beer. So I when doing some research into Goose Island, because I'd only recently discovered it as because at work on our taps we have Goose on tap, and so that was when I tried it for the first time.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's a very fancy work. You've got Goose Island on tap.
Well, you know I work in a fancy place. But yeah, but what I really liked was the idea was conceived when owner John Hall was on a long haul flight in 1986. And he was reading in, I think it was Delta Airlines in-flight magazine, of how the craft brewing industry and small breweries were becoming bigger and bigger. So that was when the idea was sparked. And when did you say he initially went for it, Joe?
1988.
1988, yeah. So that was 2 years later. So kind of like 2 years in the planning, and then he kind of did this idea. But yeah, on a long haul flight, which I quite liked.
We can talk about in 1995 that they've doubled the site. So they've doubled their original site. So they've expanded loads. And that, for instance, they have a packaging line that bottles 500 cases an hour, with the keg line at a rate of 50 kegs every 60 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I just think it's amazing that they have such a production and they've expanded so well. And obviously they are an established company in America. And I'm sure that I've probably been super naive about the fact that I've never had this IPA before, but it's just really interesting to hear about the fact that their expansion. So they, rather than moving, which you hear a lot of these newer craft beers when they get bigger, having to move, they've expanded their site and they've updated their site rather than moving on.
I think for me, Goose Island embodies the kind of the craft American scene, because it actually hasn't been around that long. Although 1988 is it does seem a bit far away, it really isn't. But they kept themselves to be very contemporary looking. They've really updated themselves. I mean, so looking at their can designs, they are very contemporary across the range. I mean, looking at their website as well, it's fascinating. Their whole range of different beers. They've got this lost palate, IPA, hazy IPA. They've got a low calorie IPA that's called Solo. They've got, it's very cool. Like, I think they're a cool brand, I know by saying cool, it makes me sound like an old man, but, it's very hip.
What?
Oh my God.
Here's Joe. He's down with the kids.
Hey, Joe, just to let you know, what you're supposed to say is it's dank.
Dank, is that the say on it?
Dank. So if it's dank, and then when I've told students that dank is actually when you're dark and dingy in the corner, they've gone, no sir, dank means it's like is the new word for cool, so, or hot or tasty. So there you go.
Who would have thought Simo is the hippest one amongst us?
Yeah.
Not me.
I mean, I haven't used the word hip yet, so I still feel really cool.
Simo, I'd just say you are so lit.
Oh my God. Actually, talking about people revolutionising, have you heard about Goose Island's use of bourbon barrels?
No, I haven't. Please tell me more.
Well, there you go. So in 1992, so this isn't even a new thing, Goose Island gave the beer industry a new, and they started this thing called bourbon-aged beer. So they started keeping their beer in bourbon barrels for 8 to 12 months, which is supposedly creating a new amazing flavour. So I found that really interesting.
So here's an extension onto that. Sorry, Joe, for butting in. But fans of the beer have paid up to £200 a bottle for the old rare Bourbon County offerings, which is mad.
Incredible. That's incredible. So that really, I guess, talks to their kind of like community around it. Like, people are, if you're a Goose Island fan, you're a Goose Island fan. Like, you want to go after their stuff. I mean, talking about one of their beers, it's actually called, one of their limited edition, it's called a dank detector. So there you go, Simo. They're really down with the kids.
They're hip hopper happening.
You've lost all credibility now, Simo, with that one phrase. But I suppose what I really like is I think they have one of the best or slogans or advertising campaigns I think I've seen, or wording for something, and it goes, we don't need to be the only beer you drink, we just want to be the best beer you drink, which I think is such a solid phrase. They're not trying to capture you from the whole market. They want you to go, we know you're going to drink other things, we know you're going to go away, but you're always going to come back to us and you're always going to have high praise for us, which I do. It's good. It's good beer.
So what do we think? So build on that then. What do you think of this Goose IPA?
So we talk a lot about some of these IPAs that we've talked about before. We say you couldn't drink a lot of it. You couldn't sit down and have 3 or 4 of these in a row, sort of thing. You couldn't go to the pub and be like, I'm gonna this is what I'm gonna be having with my meal, and I'm gonna have a few of them. I can with Goose IPA. I'm enjoying it. It's light. It's refreshing. It's got a good initial taste. It's got a good aftertaste. Just let me take a swig quickly. 1 minute. And it goes down smooth. Like, I'm enjoying it. I've only got positives for this beer.
I just have to say, for all you listeners out there, we're currently doing this sort over web chat because of COVID, and that literally could have taken, like, from Rich in his window. I could have just put that up as a poster boy of an advert right there and then. Let me just take a sip. It goes down smooth.
So, I would say this is something that we've had IPAs in the past, and I would say that even though it's 5.9%, which is I'm realising now is not as unusual as I first thought it would be, this is smooth, sweet, and easy to sip. I absolutely love it. And it's the first time I've had it, and I'm in love with it.
Don't tell Jack. In love with the beer.
So I actually think what they've done here is they've taken an English classic of an IPA and they've done it in a new way, and I would say it's a better way. Like, I honestly think that this is exactly to mirror what you guys are saying. I love that Goose IPA. I've had it quite a few times now, having been over there. But I would say that it is that kind of more fuller flavored IPA than like an English styled IPA. It's got that citrusy and the kind of citrus aromas. It's a very bold, hoppy finish, which you come to expect with these kind of crafted IPAs, but. It's matched with being smooth. It's not peppery. It's not bitter. It's not in your face. You don't get this kind of like, coming out of it. It's like that blend and it comes through quite smooth. So I think if you're a new drinker in this kind of craft area, definitely try it out. If you're, a well-seasoned veteran in the craft beer or just beer general, like definitely check out this Goose Island IPA.
Interestingly, just reading the back of the bottle that I'm currently drinking, I've just seen, it's very small. It's not as if they're flashing about it, but they've said winner of 6 Great American Beer Festival medals, category English style Indian Pale Ale. And they've got a gold, 3 silvers, 2 golds and a bronze medal since the year 2000 onwards. So they're obviously, they've hit it by storm and they've been very successful with this. So, and I just find it interesting they're not shoving that in your face that how many times they won it.
I think there is one thing that does let Goose Island down, and what they've done is they are no longer a small brewery. They have been they have sold themselves out.
Oh, by who, Rich? Who owns Goose Island?
Well, I believe we've probably mentioned them in every single podcast we've done and every single beer we seem to try. And AB InBev have them.
Yay! AB InBev. Woo!
They brought them out in 2011.
I mean, it makes sense though. Goose Island is very popular and it's done a lot of great effort to it. I mean, I just think of those beer fonts, the beer taps that you would go into the pub and they'd pull them down. And it's quite literally got a goose head on it. The neck that's a neck and head, which is what they've got on their emblem for Goose Island itself. And it's so distinctive. Just walking into those bars in the US and going, what is that? That's such a distinctive beer font, and I wanted one, and it was really popular. It always has been popular. So the fact that AB InBev have taken huge interest in it and have purchased it is no surprise in my mind. It's no surprise. Although in saying that, of course, as you said, they lose a little bit of their own kind of individuality. We're still independently owned. Yeah, of course, they're not independently owned anymore. We heard this and saw this with Camden. With Camden Town, is that people went, oh well, we expected you to forever be independent. But it's like, well, do you really expect a brewer just to stay independent forever? That just doesn't happen, especially in the brewing world. You have this merging and acquisitions that goes on all the time and as we talked about quite at length in other podcast episodes, of getting into new into new markets, getting some more marketing funding, increasing your scaling so you can hit new, volume metrics. There's so many reasons why these bigger companies get involved with, and why the guys who are doing very well, like a Goose Island, want to be taken seriously by a bigger company.
I mean, for me, it feels like it's a natural evolution of, you're a Charmander, right? thinking of Pokemon, right? You're Charmander. Eventually, you want to be that Charizard. So, you want to be everywhere. You want to be what everyone wants. And you can only do that.
I would like to apologise to everybody listening for that analogy of beer and Pokemon coming together.
That was a terrible analogy. There's so many other analogies you could pull on for like growing and like, evolving or getting bigger, and you went with Pokemon.
Yeah, because there's lots of evolution in Pokemon, let's be honest. Think about when you're leveling up your Pokemon, or they get to that level.
I'm going to stop you there right now, Simo, and save this whole segment with an interesting fact. I'm gonna pull it back.
It's a fact that we should deem if it's interesting or not.
Okay, so do you guys know the actress Gillian Anderson?
Yes.
She so she played is it Mulder in X-Files?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She used to work in the brewery. That was one of her first jobs.
That is a mildly interesting fact, Rich. I'll give you that one. It's a mildly interesting fact. I mean, you do have to know who that actress is, and
everyone knows X-Files, though, and the two main characters.
That's true.
Does everyone know X-Files?
Yeah, I'm going to say they do.
Yeah, everyone knows.
Yeah, everyone knows X-Files.
When did they last show it? When was X-Files last?
We're not getting into when was X-Files last on.
Stop trying to sabotage this segment with your Pokemon and your talk about X-Files.
This is a beer podcast, Simo, and we will stick to beer-related facts. So, Joe, yes, move away from everything we've just been talking about. Can you give us the Twitter and the Instagram numbers, please?
So, Instagram, they have 220k followers.
Nice.
Twitter, they have 83.6k followers.
Oh, wow.
Huge company then.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're a modern brewery in that sense, in that they're investing in the social channels and the reach channels. But yeah, I'd say across the board, Goose Island, we're a big fan of them. I think for you, Simo, the first time you ever had this IPA, you're a big fan of this IPA.
Grab a goose.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.